So we are going to get started. This is going to be a whirlwind of information. Dr. Callahan, this is my brother, Dr. Callahan. I'm Dr. Cameron Maynard. I'm the older brother. He is, of course. He's actually, I would say, more mature and older. He's got more kids. Is that? But we are going to be speaking fast. We're going to be covering a ton. Guys, take a lot of notes. Please have your pen ready to go. Have your notepad ready to go. What today is a yes. Absolutely. Yep. Get that. This is my good angle right here. This is a good. Yep. I do want to thank you for asking, Cinnamon. Briefly, if you're a guest here, welcome to the clinic, guys. If you've never been here before, we want to give you a warm welcome. We recently did a thought experiment with the whole team here, and the thought experiment was this. If you fast forward to 2050, and the United States was massively healthy, like if you could look in the future and like everybody was super healthy, what would be the one thing we did here in this clinic that would actually make that future reality? Like, what do we do here that actually changes people's health the most? And we asked the whole team, and when it really came down to it, what our team said, it's things like this, events like this. People that come and learn and put these things into practice, they're the ones that we see long-term go, hey, doc, I came off my blood pressure medication. Hey, doc, I'm no longer a type 2 diabetic. Hey, doc, I have more energy. My pain's going away. Those are the individuals that we see actually get healthier long-term. And what that is all about and what we accomplish at these workshops is cellular aging. That is really, if you guys are being honest with yourself, that is what you're here for. That is what you want out of health. At a cellular level, you want to be healthy. Anything you don't want, Alzheimer's, heart disease, cancer, heaven forbid, diabetes, having low energy, having a lot of pain, the things that we do not want a part of our health and a part of our life, those are prematurely the body aging faster than it should from a cellular standpoint. Now, that can be kind of hard for me to really wrap my head around. A really good example, who here is a dog person? Show of hands, dog people. Perfect. We're going to bring in my dog. You guys may already saw him. We're going to bring in Ozzy. This is Ozzy. Everybody, if you can, try to get a good look at Ozzy. He's an Australian cattle dog. This is not Ozzy. This is Dr. Ben. He's been the best dog I've ever owned. He's a great dog, guys. Does anybody want to guess how old Ozzy is?
15.
Those are good guesses. Yeah. So he's 13 years old. Okay. 2 years ago, guys, Ozzy had cataracts, was bumping into things. He had, has anybody had a dog with lipomas where they get the little fatty tumors? He had 2 of them on his body, one on his ear, one on the side of his body. He couldn't go for runs with me anymore. He had joint pain in his hip. He really smelled bad. He's an outside dog primarily. And I had a friend come over, and he did not look like this, guys. He looked about 5 years older. He looked like he was about to die. You guys, if you own enough dogs, you can tell when they're like, he's got a year or two. You know what I'm saying? Like he's like, got a year or two left. He's starting to hurt. Do I need to start taking him to the vet more? I had a friend come, and he goes, what's going on with your dog? I go, oh, he's getting old. He goes, that's not right, Cameron. Like, you know better. And what's the first thing you think I did when he told me that? I got defensive. It's like, no, you don't understand. I took him for runs. I fed him the best kibble. It was a grain-free kibble, kind of expensive one. But that's processed food. He had processed food his whole life for every meal. That's like getting a pizza from Whole Foods. You know, you know what I'm saying? It says organic on the box. You're still eating processed food. And he goes, and I knew this. He goes, do you think that's what he was designed to eat? I go, no, that's not what he's designed to eat. Are dogs designed to eat cooked food? They're designed to eat raw food. He goes, I changed to a dog food called Maeve. I also, M-A-E-V. This is not about dogs, just so this is about you guys. I changed his food. In 6 months, his cataracts were completely reversed. He has no cataracts. Good eyesight, not bumping into things. His side lipoma is completely gone. Lipoma on the side of his body gone. You can still see the one in his right ear, but it's shrunk about the third of the size it was. My friends come over and go, what have you done with him? What are you doing? All my friends now have their dogs on this dog food because of this change with Ozzy. Okay? Everybody give Ozzy a hand. Thank you. Good boy, Ozzy. What happened with Ozzy is I thought he had a year or two left, and I've owned a lot of dogs. I think he's got 5-7 more years left to live. He got younger, later in life. That is what you can do, and that's what we're going to be covering today. Every one of you can get younger and change. It doesn't happen overnight. We're going to start you guys off with the 21 days of changing your habits. That's what matters. What you do one day of your life does not kill you. It's what you do every day that kills you. Ozzy ate processed, healthy food his entire life, and that's what was killing him. It was killing him quickly. Okay? Dr. Callan, you want to add anything to that?
I just want to touch on this for the beginning, the way we're thinking right now. Like Dr. Cameron said, we're seeing the more and more we do events like this, the more and more value there is in them. And not because people are leaving an event like this with, oh, well, I'm going to start that supplement when I get home. Or I'm going to start that stretch or that exercise, or I'm going to do this mindfulness exercise. What we have found that being here repetitively, doing the challenges after repetitively, it changes something in you that is really the most important part of your life, your health journey. And it's not just the supplements you take or how you exercise or how you look. It's how you think. As you go through a process like this, especially if you follow along for the next 3 weeks, the goal is actually to change the way you think about your health, that you think about the prescription medications you're taking, that you think about the diagnosis that you've been giving at some point in your life. That's when you can get lasting results, when you transform your mind and you start thinking about these things. And that's the top of what we could hope for anybody that's here today, that you leave here thinking differently about health, and your family's health.
Really, today is not about needing to know more. It's about doing more of what we already know. That's really what it is, guys. You're going to learn some new stuff, but 90% of what we're going to cover you already know you need to do. Today is about doing more of that. I want to say one last thing that's been so cool about changing Ozzy's health in our family and changing thinking is his new dog food is more expensive. It is. And our family has seen a change in him, and we've talked about things we need to cut back other ways in our lifestyle so Ozzy can have his dog food. My kids are talking about how we can save money so Ozzy can have his dog food. Because Ozzy's a part of our family, he's important, and his health is important. How come sometimes we don't see ourselves that way? I can tell you this right now, you're more important for your family than your dog is. You're more in service to your family and who you are. And it's been cool for me to see my kids change their way of thinking because of this. So, what is the state of our health? The current state of public health it's horrific. It is horrific. I'm going to read some stats for you guys. 50% of the population, half of the population right now is in some stage of cardiovascular disease. 50%. 1 in 3 adults has full-blown metabolic syndrome. There's 5 criteria. You have to meet 3 of those criteria to have metabolic syndrome. A third of our country that are adults has metabolic syndrome. 40% of adults are pre-diabetic. 30% of adults have non-fatty liver disease. 1 in 10 adults over 65 has full-blown dementia, diagnosable dementia. 22% of individuals over 65 have a diagnosable mind condition. One thing I want you to remember about this is these numbers represent individuals. That's kind of hard to wrap your head around. Why Dr. Callahan and myself, we got into this is these individuals were our grandparents. We saw people who did not have good cellular aging, and we saw what the last part of their life looked like, and it was horrific. It was not fun to watch. It was expensive. It stole time, it stole wisdom, it stole vacations from us. We saw our grandmother become angry or saw her personality change. And then we had another half of our family who were farmers, who were more active. Our dad's side, completely different. Lived in their 90s, 100s. It was a different experience when they died. It was kind of like they lived a full life. There was no regrets. And we had these two things we compared to and we go, that one is way better, guys. It was such a better experience. Is there anything you want to add to that?
When these stats hit you, I think the most important part about this is not, oh, we're so sick as a country. What you have to think about is, what does this mean for you and your family? And what I mean by that is, who are you comparing yourself to? This is really powerful because you are subconsciously always comparing your health, your symptoms, the way you look to everybody around you. So when you think of those stats, virtually everybody you come into contact with, virtually everybody in your family, everybody you go to church with is extremely sick. Who is your doctor comparing you to? Who is your medical doctor comparing you to? All his or her other patients who are extremely sick. So when you come in and you've got metabolic disorder, you've got diabetes, you've got pain going down your leg, you're fatigued, you can't sleep, you're just like everybody else. But this is not normal. There's a difference between common and normal. This is something we have to get in our heads. It is very normal, or it's very common to be sick in this country. It is not normal for anybody. It is very common, maybe, or more common, to be a victim of crime in a certain part of town. Does anybody deserve that? Is that the way it's supposed to be? Is that supposed to be normal? No, you look at that and say, no, things need to change. It's the same thing. So you can't get caught in that trap of thinking, well, I'm doing a little better than my neighbor is. I'm doing a little better than so-and-so on the pew at church. You have to be doing vastly better than most people you can compare yourself to, or else you're sick like everybody else in this country.
This is the worst stat. This stat was done in 2022. It was a large study, 20-year study. They studied a large group of people from 1998 to 2018, 20-year study. And this is before COVID, so this stat is now, do you think better or worse since after? It's worse. What the study found is less than 7% of Americans were metabolically healthy. It's what they coined the metabolic epidemic. They said we've got to do something about this. This speaks to Dr. Callahan's point. Typically, you're going to be comparing yourself to somebody else who's not metabolically healthy. If I were to tell you that 93% of pigeons were really sick and you saw a pigeon fly by, what would you think to yourself? That pigeon's probably sick, right? It's like oh, that pigeon has got to be sick. I read a stat, 93% of them are sick. That one's sick. Why do we not... Can you touch that again? I'm sorry.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Periodically.
Thank you. Why do we not, but we don't, and this is kind of what people that start working with us, when they start walking around the grocery store, or it changes how you go to church, you go, pretty much everybody's sick. It kind of changes your heart for people. It gives you a little more grace. Like if I get cut off in traffic, you know what I think?
He's sick.
Probably sick. They're not doing good. They got the sugar, they got the diabetes, they're not doing good. But it's kind of the reality. It is. So I'm not saying it's kind of, it is the reality. So less than 7% of America is metabolically healthy. That is pre-pandemic. So what is actually metabolism? I think you hear it thrown a lot. Like, here's what I hear a lot of. I have a slow what? I got a slow metabolism. What does that mean? When somebody says, I got a slow metabolism. What metabolism is your ability to eat food, digest food and nutrients, have them processed into your body, go into your bloodstream, be stored in your muscle, be stored as fat, or go to your liver, and for your body to utilize energy and create heat. That is metabolism in a nutshell. Is everybody with me? It is energy. So if anybody says, I got a slow metabolism, something's wrong with my energy system.
Yeah, I mean, the simplest way to think of metabolism is how are you staying alive? We don't plug ourselves into the wall at the end of the day and recharge. We breathe, we eat, we drink. Metabolism is taking those things from the outside world and turning it into fuel to keep us alive and keep us going. So when there's a metabolic disorder, when there's a problem with metabolism, what you're saying is you are struggling to do the basic human necessities to live. And over time, it builds what?
Insulin resistance.
Disease.
Disease.
And we're going to get into that here in a minute. But when we talk about metabolic disorders, when we talk about metabolism, don't think like weight loss. Don't think just diabetes. This is the major driver behind all disease processes in this world.
And the biggest area they're seeing research in this is they're realizing that cancer is a metabolic disorder. Almost 99% of cancers are metabolic disorders. So I want to be very clear. The research coming out on cancer is not a genetic disorder, it's a metabolic disorder. Okay?
Across all religions, what is the most common time to pray? Before you eat. Because it has been known for a long time that I need this food to keep me alive. Mm-hmm. And I know I don't look like a steak or rice. I know something really miraculous has to happen inside my body to take water and food and turn it into me. That's metabolism. And it is a very complex process that requires all parts of your body to be functioning properly in order for you to do it throughout your life and not build that dis-ease.
So the new norm in our society is there are more, 40% of America is overweight, so now that is the majority category. Okay. Obesity, no, I'm sorry, overweight is 70%, obesity is now at 40%. So clinically obese America is 40%. Why is this? And I apologize, this is kind of cut off here. That says 73% of the food in the world, in the United States is processed. So 73% of the food in the United States is processed food. If you're an average American, that makes up 54% of your diet is processed food. Okay? Now, processed food means it was created in a lab. A company got together. They hired scientists. They hired research. They put a lot of money into this process. So if you're going to make a food in a factory, there's going to be some research, development. They're going to hire individuals and experts to put out the best product possible. And the goal, there's two goals of every company that makes processed food. So their goal is to make money, and a lot of them are publicly traded companies. So their first alliance is to who? To the stockholders. That is their first alliance. I'm not anti-capitalist. This is just when you buy something in a box or a bag that was made, I just want you to know the rules that they are playing by. So they have two goals to make money. The number one thing they want to accomplish when they make a processed food is that you eat as much of it as possible. They want what's called as low as possible satiety. Say that 10 times fast. Satiating foods. Does anybody want to guess what the highest satiating food is that you can eat? That means it fills you up the most. Chips is the lowest satiating. I heard broccoli, really good. Steak is really good. Baked potato is the number one satiating food. By far. That's why we used to kind of coach, like, don't eat white potatoes. You eat a baked potato, you tell me how much more you want to eat. I don't care. It does have simple carbohydrates. You try to eat 3 baked potatoes. You get that meal for free. You come to my house, you eat 3 baked potatoes, you're eating for free. It's almost impossible. It's great for weight loss. It's extremely high satiating food. Processed food, their goal when they're making it, the exact opposite. I want you to eat as much of it as possible is goal number 1. Goal number 2 is I want you addicted to it. I want chemicals in your brain to go fire dopamine, serotonin. So when you go back to the grocery store, what are you looking for? Got to get my fix. Got to get that thing that I'm linked to that I know is going to give me salty. It's the right balance of salt, fat, sweetness. It's also how it feels in your mouth, the crunch, how you guys, all that. You guys think there is a whole process and science behind that. It is well thought out. So that's why when I see somebody who has an issue with eating or eating junk food, we have a ton of grace for that person. You are up against a whole billion-dollar industry, scientists that are really looking out to make sure you are addicted to that food. Does anybody show of hands know they have a problem with a certain food? For me, I'm a chip person. And then has everybody ever tried to eat like 2 Oreos before? Is anybody who's got the willpower to eat 2 Oreos? You eat them. The proper serving size for Oreos is the row, correct?
I thought it was the bag.
It's the bag? No, I get this row today, this row. That was done. I just want to be, we're kind of joking about that was all done by design. And when you know, that's when you get a little bit angry about it, and you have to really start looking out for yourself. You need to look out for yourself. So I'm not saying those things are evil or sinful. I don't want to say that. Just be mindful.
So what about Girl Scout cookies?
Can I tell you what we do? We buy them from the neighbor. Do you know what we do? They go right in the trash. We go right in the trash. I'm sorry. We used to give them and then not take them, but that means somebody else can buy them. So we buy them from our neighbor and we stick them right in the trash. I want to help out the neighbor girl.
Everybody's probably seen the hamburger up front.
Yes.
If you haven't, we've got a McDonald's Happy Meal in there with fries and a burger from 2011. April from 2011. And it really doesn't look much different than the day we put it in there. It's not in an air-sealed container or anything. It's got some holes bored in it from some bug that tried to kill itself. But why it's that illustration has gotten more powerful to me because my oldest son is 10 years old and he is younger than that hamburger. That hamburger has 3 years on him. And I look at how much he has changed and grown and developed over the past 10 years, and that thing is just sitting there, staying the exact same. And I think about what if for those 10 years, he was putting that in his body over and over and over and over again. And that's what his tissue was made out of. Something that has really no food in it whatsoever. Everything in it is designed for like what Dr. Cameron was talked about. It's not designed to be food. It's designed just to get you to eat more of it. It's designed to hit a price point. It's designed to never make you full. That's why you can eat a whole bag of those burgers. You can eat 6 of them by yourself and still feel like I need a little something after that. Maybe a milkshake or something, right? It's a perfect design. Guys, it's not even that complex. This isn't like mad scientists in a laboratory with beakers and things like that.
What it is.
It might be mad scientists, but they figured this out 50 years ago. This is not new stuff. They have been selling this stuff and repeating it over and over and over again. It's not complex. We just have to be cognizant enough to know if I go down that road, I've got to be careful. I've got to really watch it because I know it's not going to make me full and I know I'm going to want more. Mm-hmm. But you got to be aware.
So where does this end? It ends with metabolic disorders. That's where this path ends. And how do you know if you have a metabolic disorder? The first way, and I just want to be very clear, if you know you are holding on to weight that you shouldn't have, you are in the middle of a metabolic disorder. Metabolic disorder is the act of putting on weight. And we're going to get really into how the body puts on weight and the science behind it. But what it leads to is, and I want to be also very clear, guys, if you have a high blood pressure diagnosis or high cholesterol, you have metabolic disorder. If you're on a medication to lower those things, you have metabolic disorder. Again, I want to, not that I don't love you, but we want to be very honest and accept you're in the middle of a metabolic condition. This is metabolic disorders end with eventually heart disease, obesity. If you have diabetes or pre-diabetes, you are in a metabolic disorder. A lot of autoimmune conditions are linked to They start off with a metabolic disorder. PCOS, a lot of women know about PCOS. That has its roots in metabolic disorder, thyroid dysfunction. I would say the majority of infertility is due to hormonal issues from metabolic disorder. Cancer, we know, is a metabolic condition. So if you have a history of cancer, we know there was probably a foundation of a metabolic disorder. Arthritis or pain everywhere, chronic pain, metabolic disorder. I didn't really get this pain thing until I started eating, and some of you may have had this experience. You eat really healthy, then you go on vacation or you go hang with the wrong family for a little while, and then you see like, holy crap, I hurt. And that is, you're in the beginning of the inflammation cascade that comes from having developing a metabolic disorder. Okay?
A couple things I want to point out on all of this. So if you think of this, what do these look like before you get the diagnosis from the doctor? Nothing. These are end-stage metabolic disorders. You have to be dealing with metabolic disruption year after year after year before you start getting these end results, before you get, you are extremely overweight, you have high blood pressure, you have this autoimmune condition, you've got arthritis. Now, I want you to think of these things. Think of all of these things. And most people, if they came in as a practice member, as a patient, they would say, I have thyroid dysfunction. I have diabetes. Replace that with, I have a metabolic disorder. You see, when you start talking about things as this disease process, it starts to remove you from the equation. And it's like you just had bad luck, so you got diabetes. Or, whose fault is my disease? Well, it's my parents, my mom, dad, my grandparents. This is an important thing to take away, guys. They have studied it and studied it and studied it. Nobody's health is more of a responsibility. It's nobody else's responsibility except yours. They have found that no matter how hard we try to tie heart disease and diabetes and arthritis in the spine or whatever it might be to your genetics, it is a very, very, very small percentage of all disease is genetic. It's not impossible, but I'm talking small. These things, none of them have been shown to be linked strongly at all to genes. It is what you've been doing. And one of the biggest pitfalls when you get a diagnosis, when you get pain, when you get whatever that's negative about your health, you think, oh no, what do I do now? Right? That's normal process of thinking. When the proper way of thinking would be, oh no, what have I been doing the past 30 years? Because that is what got you there. It is important to think about what do I need to do next, but it'll help you clearly think about your next steps if you think about what have I been doing? That's what led you there. Changing that is what's going to change the future. Not some added supplement, not some added medication, not some crazy new invention. You got yourself there. You can get yourself out of these conditions.
So what is the current medical intervention that's really hot now for metabolic disorder? I heard it. Ozempic. Okay, all those category of drugs. Just so you guys know, this is a nightmare. And if anybody in here is on those, we've got to do whatever you can to come off of them. They make you lose muscle mass. It's not going to age well. The lawsuits, and Dr. Cowling brought this up, it's very rare that you see the advertisements for the medication and then a lawyer commercial for that medication follow it in the same time. It used to be back in the day, there'd be like a 5-year break. Right now it's not. There are already lawyer commercials for Ozempic coming up. So this is not a good path to take, guys. Okay? It is, we could talk for 2 hours. We've researched it deeply. It is horrible for you. The main thing it does is when you were to lose weight naturally, you're going to lose a lot of fat. When you lose weight on Ozempic, 50% of it's going to come from your muscle mass. And you do not want to lose your muscle mass as your age, especially if you're female. And guess who is on all this Ozempic? It's mostly females. We're going to see a crisis from this. Okay?
Is that the semi-glutide thing?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And there's a bunch of different types of them. Okay? If you know anybody on it, guys, you could tell them, do whatever you can to quit. Just do whatever you can, read up on it. More and more is coming out, so it's a pretty easy conversation. If you are here on it yourself, guys, if you want to talk to us afterwards, we'll help you. This challenge will help you, but we'll help you come off of it. It is really, really bad for you.
Too many doctors prescribing.
It's hot. People are asking for it too. Doctors are put in a hard place. People are asking for it. Yes.
They wanted me to be on it, and you have a right to say no.
You forget that sometimes.
Yeah.
You do. Yep. Thank you for saying that. Okay, so anybody watch the Blue Zone documentary on Netflix? It's pretty cool. We talk about Blue Zones a lot. There are places in the world that do not have metabolic disorders, guys. Okay? And they live the longest, they're the healthiest, they're the happiest. They're called Blue Zones. There are places where people don't blame their genetics and they live a very long, healthy, vital life. But here's what I realized when I watched the documentary, and this is what's hilarious. When you see where these people live, they don't have a choice but to be healthy. I'm like, Cole, after I watched this, I was like, no wonder this stuff works. Like, this lady has to go walk to get water. I'd be healthy too if I had to go walk. And what you realize, and this was I read this in a book, is what the difference is in their culture and our culture is the United States is a maze. You have too many choices. It's called the tyranny of choice. Those cultures are what's called a labyrinth. You have to do the work, but you don't have a choice but to do the work. That is the fundamental difference between those cultures and the Blue Zones. And what we are trying to design with this challenge and what we're doing is we want to build this for you guys. For 21 days, just take the choice out of it. Take the tyranny of choice. You have one choice, follow the program, and just do the work for 21 days and see what happens. Okay? So I can't ship you to Okinawa, Japan, so you can sit with an old lady and talk to her about her knitting because there's no TV there and there's nothing else to do. So you have to have a relationship with another person because you say, like, when you just watch it, you're like, no wonder these people are healthy. Yeah. Anything else you want to say on that?
No.
Okay. So we are going to break this down, and this is where we're going to get into the intervention, into 4 major systems that lead to longevity. This is what everything in the 10 habits we're going to do are centered around. So when we look at the systems in the body that are tied to longevity, number 1 is cardiovascular respiratory system. So that's your heart and lungs. Okay. Second, we've been talking a lot about already today, which is your metabolic system, which you guys know is energy, eating food, turning it into energy. The third system is the musculoskeletal system. That's your muscles, your bones, your tendons, your ligaments. Okay? And then the final system is your psychological well-being. That's your brain, your central nervous system. That's how you deal with stress. That's your relationships. That's also your emotions. Everybody with me? Those are the 4 primary systems that we can measure, that we can test reliably, that we know lead to longevity, we can intervene on, we can do evidence-based interventions, and then we can retest afterwards to see a positive change, and we can say, hey, Jim Gross, we know because these things have gotten better, we know you're going to live longer. The science is clear.
And that's the best thing about these. You look at this, you can affect every single one of those. The most powerful things when it comes to you fighting disease and living longer are literally right at your fingertips. It's just a matter of changing the way we think, changing the way your life is formed, and these things take time. But that's why in order to speed up that transformation, we do something like this. To try and think, well, if I can do this for 21 days, why can't I just shape my life a little bit differently and just continue to do that? And this is lifelong. This is something I want to make sure, in order to continue to affect these in a positive way, there is no 10-day program, 21, 32 year. It is for the rest of your life. And it will continue to be tweaked. It'll continue to need to be reprioritized. It'll continue to need to be dipped back into. That's the norm. Life is going to continue to change, right? There's going to be different seasons. You're going to be affected by different things in your life, different stresses, loss of a family member, a divorce, whatever it might be. Stuff's going to keep coming at you, and you will continually need to go back to, how am I doing positively affecting these? But if you have no bearing, right? If you're in that maze, and you're just going around, you're going to reach for, this is a world of convenience and ease and comfort, right? And our brain just says, seek those things. If you don't have that conscious thought of, I have to be on top of these categories, these decisions, you will just fall into that winding through the maze, hitting walls back and forth, and then you look up 10, 20 years later and you're like, what on earth happened? We got to think about this stuff.
Who went into the maze during the ice storm recently? Everybody put on the ice storm 5 pounds, right? So a lot of this challenge is great for you because myself and Dr. Callahan, you guys are stuck in a ditch when it comes to your health. We're going to push you out of the ditch here with this. But it's your job. Now that you're out of the ditch, you got to keep going. Okay? So 21-day challenge. We're going to use the scientific model, which is the test, intervene, retest model. It's the standard, gold standard for basically science, and we're going to use it in this challenge. So we're going to recommend you test. We're going to test those 4 systems. We have very good ways to test those 4 systems that are reliable, that are easy to do, and they're cheap. There's other tests we could have chosen, guys, that were blood work related. It's just cost prohibitive, like ApoB, certain other markers, blood sugar sensitivity. You do a panel like that, you're looking at $600. It's just not a reality for a large group of people. We'll tell you some of those things. You can do them later. You can talk to your doctor about them, and I'll bring those things up. But this is what we found is the best way to test those 4 systems reliably, cheaply, and quickly. Okay? Then the interventions we've chosen are evidence-based. We know they work. We know they're the best, and then we're going to retest after 21 days. That is what we're doing. Now, that's going to look like 5 tests, 21 days of habits. They're going to be 10 habits, and then we're going to do 5 tests again.
What's important about this testing is to be a good test subject. You will all, if you sign up for the testing for the 21-day challenge, you are going to go through testing today. You are only as good as well as if you make yourself a great subject to these tests. You can try and think in your mind, well, that's not right. You've got to go all effort on these tests. They're simple, they're easy, everybody can do them, but just kind of remove yourself from the equation. Just take yourself out of it. I'm going to do these tests. I'm going to go as hard as I can, and then that way you can get a good, accurate retesting as well. But we have to have good test subjects. This is not like you're sitting down with a doctor getting your blood pressure because they're going to put you on a medication. It's not what this is. We're looking for good starting numbers just to see where you are today, so we can be honest with ourselves. This is something that all the team, all the doctors, we have tested ourselves because I want to know. Especially after doing research and looking into these tests, these are good things to know about yourself. And be happy about whatever your test result is. If it's great, great. If it's bad, awesome. I know and I can do something about it. So it's good regardless of what your test result is.
The final thing I want to say about testing is one simple statement. Would you guys rather know now the reality, or would you rather know in 10 years? Rather know now. Okay, so just keep that in mind. I'd rather know now. I teach my kids, don't ever be scared of the truth. Don't be scared of the truth, ever. That's one thing in life. Like, don't be fearful of the truth. And so if you have any fear around the testing, it's going to be private, but don't be scared of the truth, guys. So first test we're going to be measuring is called VO2 max.
Does that excite anybody?
VO2 max, and I just want to summarize this really simply. It's simply put, how well does your body utilize oxygen for energy? It is an amazing test, amazing. And this took us a year really to do the research to put all of this testing that we've got together in order. We really picked through everything that we could use. This was one of the number 1 markers. Okay? It represents how efficient you use oxygen. It is the number 1 measurement for cardiovascular health. Okay? So I don't get, like, say you're a good, healthy weight. You weigh really well, but we test your VO max and it's very poor. It still means your heart's bad. And does anybody know anybody who's had a heart attack here that looked pretty good? Absolutely. You can be have really bad cardiovascular health and not be obese or overweight. So this is a much better test. Yeah. That's a good example. The guy who invented the Atkins diet.
So this is something this is not new. They've researched it for a long time, and they see that, wow, this is a very, very strong indicator of health, overall health. Really everything they can measure, this is a really good indicator of it. But they struggle even putting it in words that people can gravitate towards and say, wow, who's had their VO2 max tested in here? Usually it is not a common test. Like you're not going to have it done at the doctor's office. You might have it done by a personal trainer or something like that. That way they can measure it and see if it gets better. But I read research that said, I'm just going to try and put this in the most layman's terms possible so you understand the importance of going from a poor VO2 max and then improving your VO2 max. And they say the biggest jump, the biggest health benefit you get is if you have a low VO2 max and you just get it to average. If you can get it to average, they say it's the equivalent of curing end-stage renal disease. If anybody has any knowledge or experience with end-stage renal disease, it is not good. So that's dialysis, and that is a 5 to 10 year life expectancy after that diagnosis. It's as bad, your kidneys have stopped functioning. That is how, if you just went from low VO2 max to average, it's like a doctor snapped their fingers and cured your kidneys. That's how much it affects your overall health, your life expectancy, your quality of life, everything they can measure. This is huge. Go ahead.
How does that compare to your blood oxygen?
The saturation, your oxygen saturation, completely different numbers. Yeah, there could be some correlation, but it's complete. This is based off pulse. And we're going to use that monitor. We're going to use a pulse oximeter. We're going to get your oxygen saturation in the room, but we're not going to really utilize it.
So essentially what it is as you move your body, how hard and fast does your heart have to beat to keep you going, right? How efficient are you at moving oxygenated blood throughout your body as you move? So let's say poor VO2 max, what that's going to look like is if you walk up a short flight of stairs and you're breathing heavy at the top. You're having to really try and get as much of that outside air environment into your body because you're very, very inefficient at getting that oxygen in your tissues. That is a poor indicator it's a good indicator of poor health.
And there are like 20 ways to test this, guys. And we found the best way we feel is called the step test. So you're going to be stepping up and down on a box. And we've got all kinds of ways to do it if you're unable to do that, and we'll walk you through that. But this can be very difficult to test, and that's why people don't do it. And we found the best way to do it, the easiest way to do it. Yes?
What about in the case of redshift blood that blood cells doesn't carry any
That's going to affect your VO2 max. Like it's some type of anemia or hypothalassemia or sickle cell anemia. Yeah, it's going to affect it, but that's the hand you've been dealt. Mm-hmm. So what are you going to do with it? Right? Have you heard David Goggins, ultra marathon runner? He's got sickle cell anemia, and he runs 400 miles at a time. So it's what are you going to do with it?
And it's important to know, like some of you are going to go to test this, and a knee or a hip may prevent you from completing the test. That's not the end of the world, but what we have to take away from that is how good is your cardiovascular health if you're not able to move your body?
Yep.
That is a test result.
It is.
That's being a good test subject. I'm going to try. I may not be able to complete this test, but if you're not even able to even complete the test, that is the lowest of VO2 max, right? You couldn't even get yourself to your max cardiovascular-wise because musculoskeletally, you can't do it. So it is just going to steadily decline. So if you have chronic knee issues, chronic hip issues, this gets back to that point. Your whole body has to be healthy to be healthy. You can't just run on a treadmill. You can't just take an injection to lose weight. You can't just take a medication to lower your blood pressure. Your whole body has to be functioning together, every metabolic pathway, to be truly healthy.
And that brings us back to here, guys. These are all intersectional. That what Dr. Callahan just brought out, if you have a musculoskeletal problem, do you see how now that has affected your cardiovascular health? The body is holistic, it's a system. That's why they're all important. Really big point. Okay, so let's go to the next test, blood pressure. Now, some of the older patients here, you guys remember like everybody took their blood pressure? Like that was like a big thing in the 80s. Remember the blood pressure cups at like up at the pharmacy? Like I remember going to Walmart and there's a line for the blood pressure machine. It's kind of fallen out of fashion a little bit. It is by far the number one predictor of a cardiac event. Blood pressure is. It is, it's very important. I do want to tell you, if you take a medication to lower your blood pressure, if we do the testing, you're automatically kind of put in the lowest category. Because what that tells us is if you don't take that medication, what's going to happen? If you don't take a pill, you're going to die. Does that would wake me up. Personally, I'm saying that with love. I am so sick, if I don't take a pill, I'm going to die. That means that your cardiovascular respiratory fitness is so poor that you must change your body's chemistry artificially or you're going to have a high risk of death. Okay? I cannot tell you by law, I can't say you need to come off your medication, but if you're on a medication or this is really high, we check you. Like I'm fearful that I'm going to check somebody in here and they're going to have like a 180 over 120 or something. You know, thank God, maybe we say, I think we're going to catch somebody and possibly save their life. But you may have to go to the doctor and get on a medication. But what is the first question you should be asking yourself when you get put on that medication? How can I come off? Doc, what's the process? And if he says you're going to have to be on it for the rest of your life, what do you need to say? I need a new doctor. I got to find a new doctor. What I'm finding is the new young hip doctors in town are the ones going, yep, let's work. Let's do. What do you want to do? Let's work together. It's the old 80-year-old gristle doc that was. I don't know what it's dogmatic. Like, nope, you're gonna have to take this for the rest of your life. They want you out of their office, is what they want. Yeah. Why are you talking to me right now? I've got 15 other patients to see.
Take my blood pressure before the step test.
We've brought that up. Yes, we brought that up. There is a method to the madness next door. Yeah. So it's not sexy. It's super important because it is the number one indicator if you're going to have a heart attack or a stroke. Okay, and what are you most likely going to die from? Heart attack or stroke. That is it's not going to be something else. It's not going to be some sexy disease. The majority of us in this room are going to die from a heart attack or stroke if we don't take care of ourselves. Third test. I'm going to break this down for you guys. If you understand this, you will be able, when you go to Thanksgiving and Christmas or Easter with your family, you're going to be able to school them on prediabetes, diabetes, metabolic syndrome. You're going to be able to school your doctor on this. You're going to understand this better than physicians. So what we're going to be measuring is your waist circumference to how tall you are, and that's going to give you a ratio. Okay, now why that's important is because the human body stores fat 3 ways. And what you have is what is called everybody remember this is called your personal fat threshold. You know how Dr. Callahan said, it's not your genetics? Does everyone remember it? This is your genetics. Okay, I want to be clear. So this will be a really quick example. Did anybody see the movie Killers of the Flower Moon? Anybody see that or read the book? When the Indians were first exposed to the white man's food, what happened to all the Indians? They got diabetes. And the reason is genetically Native Americans have what's called a very low personal fat threshold. And you guys are going to understand this. Genetically, what we want to do is when you eat too much sugar, your body is going to turn that sugar into what? Fat, and it's going to need to put it somewhere. Based on your genetics, the first place it's going to want to put it is called subcutaneously. That means under the skin. And that's going to go everywhere equally. That is the best place to put fat. Okay, is everybody with me? That is the healthiest place. Everybody in here, you have a different threshold for how much you can do that before then it has to go to stage 2, which is then it's going to go to visceral fat. When it can't go under the skin anymore, it's then going to be stored in your liver and around your organs. Now, as it builds up in the liver, that's called two things: non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and prediabetes. Is everybody with me? That's the stage you're in. So if you have prediabetes or insulin resistance or non-alcoholic fatty liver, you know you have reached your personal fat threshold, and now your body is now storing fat in your liver and around your organs. Is everybody with me? Okay? You do not want that. We want to reverse it. If it continues, what will happen is your liver cannot store any more fat in it. It will now kick out a certain type of fat into your bloodstream called triglycerides. Who's heard of I've got high triglycerides? That's what stage we're at now. Your liver is now putting the special type of fat into your bloodstream going, we can't take it anymore. Your body goes, we can't put it under the skin anymore. We're now going to store it what's called ectopically. We're going to try to store fat inside other organs. And around your heart. The primary one is in your pancreas. That'll be the next place it loads fat, and that's called type 2 diabetes. It's going to then affect your ability to make insulin, and then your blood sugar is going to go through the roof. Is everybody with me? You now understand metabolic disorder, type 2 diabetes, prediabetes, as well as a clinician. That is what happens. We can do some measurements from blood work, but the best way to look at this under the microscope is to do this waist to height ratio. We're going to tell you through that ratio kind of what stage of the game you're at. We're going to be able to say, hey, you're holding too much weight here compared to the rest of your body and how tall you are. This is an issue.
So we've talked, about fat, storing fat. We've talked about triglycerides in your blood. When you think about this dietarily, what do you guys think of? We've talked about nothing but fat. Triglycerides are even like a fatty-like substance in the blood. If you wanted to affect that dietarily, what lever would you want to pull with your diet first?
Reduce sugar.
Sugar. It's not a fat thing. And that's one thing I just want to make sure we're not confusing here. How you store excess as fat. Excess, period. Okay? It doesn't come from dietary fat, makes its way into your fat. It would have to be excess. The easiest way to get in excess is sugar intake. That is what our body can process the least of. We can process fat very well. We can process protein very well. Sugar, we have a threshold, and it's timely, right? You get so much at one time, one meal. It's got to do something with it to keep you alive. It's got to store it quickly. Too much fat in a meal doesn't make your blood sugar toxic. Too much protein in a meal doesn't make your blood sugar toxic, and your body has to do something with it. Too much glucose, fructose in a meal will do that, and your body has to do something with it, convert it, store it. So don't just think, oh, I need to eat low fat. We are not saying that whatsoever. Fat and protein need to make up the majority of your diet.
This whole process, guys, is called energy toxicity. So that's called, you have too much energy going into your body. That's called the energy toxicity problem. All right, next test, grip strength. Grip strength is a great proxy. We're not testing so much your forearm muscles, but your grip strength is really well correlated with how strong your whole body is. Is everybody with me? So I can kind of tell you how strong your whole body is by testing your grip strength. It is a top 2 indicator for longevity. This is top 2. This is number 2 on the list. Especially females, you want to stay strong as you age. Okay?
And this is kind of like a step test. If you're like, well, I've had carpal tunnel for years and I know my hands are weak and I've got a shoulder issue that makes this arm weak. People think that's just a musculoskeletal thing, right? Grip strength is so important because what do you do with your hands? Everything. Everything you do, everything you reach for, everything you push, everything you pull, you're using your hands. Every time you move your body, like think of the gym. Watch people in a gym. There are very few exercises when they're not using their hands. So if these are strong and healthy, if your limbs are strong and healthy, it's a very good indicator that the rest of your musculoskeletal system is healthy. And they've studied it so much, they have a lot of really good terms for it, indispensable biomarker, especially for older adults. And what they have found is if somebody's hands are weak, it translates directly to the rest of the body, not just musculoskeletally. Yes, you're going to have weak shoulders if your hands are weak. You're going to have a weak back, weak hip, weak legs. You're going to have trouble going upstairs if your hands are weak. Your heart's going to be weak. Your lungs are going to be weak. You're going to have a poor digestive system. You're going to have poor mental health, all just because of this one factor. That's why it's such a powerful test. So when you think about this, don't think, well, I just need to get my hands stronger. You drive around in your car with those grip things. I mean, that's not a terrible thing, but you need to just realize that from doing healthy activities, from getting rid of pain and inflammation, these will get stronger. The more you move your body, the more you lift things, the more you carry weight, the more confidence you have in, yeah, I can do that. I can open that jar. I can do that activity. The stronger you will slowly get, and therefore it's going to affect the rest of your body in a very positive way.
And then the final test, and this was the hardest to find an accurate test for, and a lot of work and time was put into this. This is by far the best way we found to measure it, is what's called a flourishing scale. And this is a 8-part questionnaire that's scored that is going to essentially judge your mental and emotional health. So like Dr. Callahan said, try to be a good test subject, meaning this is subjective. You're going to be the one to answer these questions. Be honest with yourself. Don't be scared of the truth. This is something you can absolutely improve upon. This is really important, guys. If I can be transparent, guys, as a chiropractor and as somebody who works with people who want to get healthy, my guilty pleasure is mental health. I like talking mental health with patients. I like it. It's the books I'm reading. It's what I'm into because I've seen the patients that get better with their mental health. They make better health choices. They're happier. They lose the weight easier. It's something that's really, maybe it's because our dad was a preacher. And that's what he was always like worried about our mind and what we were thinking. He made us read Proverbs all the time. You know what I mean? What are you thinking about? What's your mind? You better be fearing God. Like he was just always nonstop, like mental. And it's really carried on to, I love talking this with patients because it's so important. And if it's really bad with a patient, like I've had patients come in, it's really poor, nothing we do works. Nothing we try to do is effective. They won't do anything long term. So it's where we got to start. It's very important, guys. So what are the 10 habits? What we repeatedly do, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but it's a habit. This is typically misquoted to Aristotle. Aristotle did not say this. This was Will Durant, the famous historian, the best historian of our era. And what we are going to try to do, guys, is we're going to kickstart things with these habits. The goal and our hope is that some of them stick after 21 days. Guys, if one of these sticks for you, it would be worth it for me. If one of them does. If just one you hold on to for the rest of your life, holy crap, what a change you've made today. This was well worth it. Just one does.
And I just want to speak to which I'm probably in a little bit, I'm going to try and talk some of you out of the challenge and the 21 day. But right now, I want to speak to the doubter and the skeptic in the room. When it comes to maybe something with your health you've dealt with for a long time. Maybe something with your health that you've tried multiple things in the past and have not succeeded in changing in a positive way. Maybe it's something that you have accepted. I'm going to deal with this diagnosis and this medication for the rest of my life. Doctors have told you that. I have found it's easier just to accept that fact. You might be there, with something in your health and in your body right now sitting in this room. And you might be saying, yeah, I can do all that, but it's not going to change that because I've tried it all in the past. Here's just what I want you to think. Let's say that is true. Okay? And 21 days from now, 21 years from now, you're still dealing with that thing. You have to think like this. If I make all these positive changes with my mental health, with my cardiovascular health, with my strength, with my musculoskeletal system, if all of those things are better, am I better? Yes. Regardless if you still have that thing that's still there. I guarantee you, you will be a healthier person regardless. You see, as humans, we get caught up on those hang-ups. Those things where it's like, well, I have X, Y, and Z, so I'm not a healthy person. I don't even need to mess around with it. I've just been dealt a bad hand, so you kind of throw your hands up and you don't attack health as vigorously as somebody who is 18 years old and they have no diagnosis, they feel great, right? It's like healthier people gravitate more towards health and sick people stay away from it when it's the opposite that should be happening, right? Sick people are the ones that need that transformation, but it's the way we think about it that keeps us away from it. You've got nothing to lose. It's not going to make it worse. Go after it and you might surprise yourself, right?
We're going to do it system by system. We're going to start with the cardiovascular and respiratory system. So habit number 1 we're going to shoot for is 30 minutes of zone 2 or 3 cardio every single day. Okay, not a big ask. What is zone 2, 3, you ask? It is exercising at a pace that you cannot have a comfortable conversation. So for some of you in this room, it's just walking fast. Is anybody, like, if you walk as fast as you can, could you have an easy conversation? If the answer is no, that's zone 2 cardio. And you're just walking fast for 30 minutes. That's it. That could be the ask for a lot of you in this room. For some of you, you may have to get up to a light jog or a light row or a light bike or some type of light movement. Okay, but the minimum is really 30 minutes. Now remember the blue zone? Do they have a choice if they want to get 30 minutes of cardio? They want to go see their friend, they got to go walk 2 hours. You know what I mean? So that's a must. Or if you don't want to take the 30 minutes, you can do 12 minutes of a HIIT exercise, which is a high intensity, low duration. We're going to have a Facebook group for this 21-day challenge. We're going to have HIIT exercises on there that you're going to have access to. Pull up the video. My favorite HIIT exercise, if you're able to do it, is do 100 burpees as fast as you can. May take you more. For some of you, you may not be able to do a full burpee. You just go up to a push-up position, stand up, push-up position, stand up. It's whatever you got to do to get your heart rate up for a short amount of time. Okay? We'll have resources for you. You're going to be prepared. We'll have things for you to do. Okay? You could join a boot camp here locally. Like we love JC, Coach JC, the Keneally's. They own the boot camp here in town. Also, DSD, multiple resources. Join someplace. If you know you can't do it yourself, spend a little bit of money. Join a gym, especially ones that make you work out. You know, the ones with the drill instructors. That's who I want. That's what I want to pay for. The person that makes me do the work. Okay? And then we're going to be in bed for 8 hours. Be in bed. So this is the key. Here's the ask. Here's the ask. That you're in bed for a total of 8 hours with no devices, no TV, no phone. It could be a book. It could be anything else. No computer, no phone, no TV. But you're in bed for 8 hours.
No earthquakes.
That was a good one.
That was something, wasn't it? Yeah.
So to be clear, you might still only sleep 3 hours.
Yep.
But the goal is to be in a good lying down position, lights off, phone off, TV off, 8 hours.
Does anybody, so I know all the 10 habits, just so you guys know, I already know them all. So this will be the hardest one for me personally. It's been a struggle my whole life, but I'm going to go after it. I'm not going to be scared of the truth. I know it. If I don't do this, this is going to affect me negatively health-wise. Here's the bad thing about this one, too. It may not seem like a small one, or it may not seem like a big one. This affects all 4 of those systems. Your mental well-being, your musculoskeletal system, your metabolic health, your cardiovascular respiratory health. It affects this. Sleep is the glue that holds health together. It is the glue. Okay? So these are going to be our 2 main habits for the cardiovascular and respiratory system. Now, a couple things I want to tell you just real quickly about sleep. I want to give you some highlights from last year's workshops we did. We did some great workshops last year. You may come to the sleep workshop. You may come to the gut health workshop. We had some great stuff, but some of the best stuff that came out of the sleep workshop are the best ways to get more sleep is to get out in the sun 30 minutes upon waking, not through a window. Windows do not count. You actually have to be outside to get the benefits. And then the next best thing you can do for your sleep is do not eat 2 hours before you go to bed. Nothing they have studied is better for sleep than those 2 things. Get outside first thing in the morning, not through a window, and don't eat before bed. You do those, you're going to sleep better. Anything you want to add there, Kelly? Okay.
I want to mention one thing. When my kids were in camp, every afternoon they had FOB, flat on back. And they made the kids get flat on their back for an afternoon break, partly out for the heat or whatever. But I think that's what we need to do is tell ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I also like about that is the best way to sleep is flat on your back.
Yeah.
What camp is this? Can they sign up? Can I sign up? Kanakuk? That's cool. All right. System number 2. And you guys, we've hammered this system already. We're going to hammer it some more. Metabolic system. Okay? 95% of fad diets fail. We don't want this to be a fad diet. We have actually taught and coached on fad diets here for uses like the ketogenic diet. I've done the carnivore diet. I've done vegan. I've tried it all. I want to experiment so I can tell you guys the best way. The one we're going to give you guys and we're going to settle on, we really feel is the best diet. And until more research comes out, this is how I feel you guys should eat for the rest of your life. This is not a fad diet. Okay. Weight loss is really all about hormones. Our metabolism is really all about hormones, so we want to eat to influence hormones. And the big thing missing, especially in females, the missing ingredient is protein. Okay? I would say the majority of the females in here and the men you're under-proteined. You're under-proteined for your genetics, for what you require, and this is something we really want to focus on. Okay? Protein is going to increase your metabolism. We are going to rattle off all the benefits of more protein. We're going to hit on this. And protein is the most powerful weight loss tool you have from a nutritional standpoint, besides pure calorie restriction. Calorie restriction, that's Weight Watchers, guys. Calorie restrictions works. What typically happens with calorie restriction, though, over the long term? If you try to use calorie restriction as a weight loss tool, what's going to happen to you long term? You're going to gain more weight than you did before that diet. That's what the research shows. You get burnt out. It takes too much willpower. We don't want to use willpower, guys. We don't want to use that as a tool. Protein's a much better tool than willpower. So things protein does. A calorie is not a calorie. Here's what I mean by that. If you eat protein, you have to burn 25% of the calories from protein are used in what's called thermogenic effect. So when you get protein or calories from protein, 25% of them are going to be used to digest it and assimilate into your body. 10% of carbohydrates is thermogenic, and almost 0% of fat is thermogenic. You have to use a lot of energy. It burns up your metabolism for you to have to utilize it. Protein is also the highest category of food that is satiating. It makes you feel full. It is the best for hormone production, especially females. A lot of females have hormonal issues, and Dr. Sarah is really the expert on this, but the thing she keeps telling me is we got to get these women eating more protein. The reason they're having hormonal issues through all the changes, so I want you to think of all the phases of a hormone cycle, all the way through menopause, premenopause, perimenopause, postmenopause. The best thing you can do for yourself is eat more protein through that process. Okay? If you do not get enough protein and you're not really filled up on it, guess where your body goes for that protein? Your muscles. It's going to go quickly and directly to your muscles for those essential amino acids. We never want that process to happen. The only time we ever want that to happen is if we're choosing to do a short-term fast, like for health reasons. Like we're going to do a water fast for a day or two. That's the only time we ever want to dip into that process. Otherwise, we don't want to do that. So it makes you feel full. It's going to speed up your metabolism. It's going to make you build more muscle, which is also going to speed up more metabolism. It's great for hormones. Is there anything you want to add on protein?
I just, what does this look like in a day-to-day, right? Increasing protein. What would that look like on your plate? That's why you guys have that list of high protein foods. So when we get into this, let's say your protein goal for the day is 150 grams of protein. If you've never tracked your macros, like how much protein, how much fat, how much carb you're getting, it is not going to be easy to get 100, 125, 150 grams of protein in a day, especially if you're not grazing and eating all day long. So if you're not eating, which part of this, we're going to not eat 2 hours after we wake up. We're going to not eat 2 hours before we go to bed. So essentially for me, what that works out to is about 2 meals a day, large meals a day. So let's say I need to get 150 grams of protein in that window. One meal would look like multiple hamburger patties, cheese on the hamburger patties, a protein shake, maybe some nuts, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt as well. That's going to get me about halfway there. 75 grams of protein, 80 grams of protein. Now here's this. This is why, honestly, why this is such a powerful way to transform your whole diet. I want you guys to each imagine you just ate 2.5 hamburger patties, some Greek yogurt, some nuts, and some cottage cheese. Most people, honestly, you're not going to be able to get through that. It is extremely filling. And once you're not going to want anything else. But if I just had a little chicken on a salad, I'm at 15 grams of protein. I'm nowhere near that. But it's less calories, but what else am I going to want to do after that? Eat more. Eat more. So I'm gonna reach for fries, or I'm gonna stop and get a snack or chips or something like that. So this is kind of that theory where we're going to change our diet by cramming all the good stuff in, and there won't be room for any of the bad stuff. And if you really make that your goal, I got to get that protein in, you will not have really even the capacity to bring other junk in. But think of the things that I listed that I'm eating. What is it mainly? Protein from where? Animals. It's animal source protein. You can do this from vegetables, but so how does a cow get the protein it needs to grow big and strong? How often does it eat? All day long. Okay, and it even has to spit that up and chew it when it's taking a break. You would have to eat a lot to get all of that protein just from plants. Not that it's impossible or a negative thing. It's much more bang for your buck to reach for those good. And we're going to talk about where that comes from here in a minute. But that's really the big theory behind it. Yes, it has all those positive effects, but it also transforms the rest of your diet, your cravings, the snacking, all of that.
So who had the yogurt little parfait? So without the pumpkin seeds on it, that was right. That serving, we weighed it out. That was around 18 grams of protein in that small serving. That was a protein powder mixed in with Greek yogurt, which Greek yogurt's loaded with protein. If you had it with the pumpkin seeds, that put that over 20 grams of protein. Just that little snack. That's my cheat code to get in more protein. Yogurt mixed with a protein powder. It is a great snack. If anybody here is vegetarian, we're not saying it has to come from animal sources. It can absolutely come from plant sources. It just takes a little more engineering. It's a little more difficult to get that much. Yes?
That's what I think, it's kind of hard for someone that doesn't eat meat to get the person that eats it.
A lot of it has to be done through shakes, pea protein shakes, and beans.
Cottage cheese has a lot of protein in it.
It's loaded with it, but some vegans Some people do no animal. So if you're able to do dairy still or cottage cheese or yogurt, that's really. So it may, like I want to give another example, like out on the go. How do you get protein on the go? What restaurant can't make you a 5-egg omelet with a side of cottage cheese? Like I'm eating that everywhere in town in Tulsa. You do the math on that, you're looking at a 50, 60 gram meal of protein right there. Okay? So let's get into how much protein we're going to eat. So everybody get out your body scan. Can I borrow your body scan? Okay. So, Teresa, this is really good. Okay. So, first thing I want you to look at is just real briefly, look at this middle category, this muscle fat analysis. It's got weight, SMM, and body fat mass. Do you guys see that? If you were to connect the dots on those three lines, it should either be a shape of an I or a D. You do not want a C. Okay? Just that's we would prefer not to have a C shape. Is everybody with me? Okay? If you have a C, a good goal is you want to get it to look as close as an I as you can. Okay? Yeah. All right, so that's just a good overall test for metabolic health. The real reason we had you guys do this, in the top right-hand corner, does everybody see the lean body mass number? Lean body mass. Can everybody see that? If you exercise, that is how many grams of protein you should get a day. If you're going to be exercising. So if yours says 100 pounds of lean body mass, which Teresa, I hope you don't mind me sharing this with you. Teresa says 95. She would be shooting for at least 95 grams of protein every day. Does anybody have questions on that?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, come on down, next line down.
Oh, sorry.
There you
Okay,
go. Yeah. Any questions on that? Can everybody find that number?
So that one there, that's
yes.
109. That's your grams of protein each day.
That is okay. The max is, this you bring up a good point, we do not want to go over 2 times that number. So say yours was 100, your max, you would never want to go over 200 grams of protein. You are now getting into an area what your body's going to do with that excess protein is going to turn it into fat. That's your window.
62.
The more you can handle, though, up to that window is the amount of exercise you have. Okay, so you could go up more.
Correct.
All right. Now, the very low level, say you are unable to exercise, which even in your wheelchair, you could do some exercise. But let's say you're in a wheelchair. The lowest that number can be to not pull muscle away is 0.7 times that number. That's the lowest. So if yours says 100, your lowest would be 70. Is everybody with me? How we did that? That is the absolute floor. I don't recommend doing that. That's only for individuals that are doing no activity, sitting at home, watching TV all day. Okay? Yes? Lean body mass. Lean body mass. It's above basal metabolic rate.
That's what the machine
Yes.
Oh, I know, but for us to know.
That's not important.
So you can
The shape of the
Google
first shape I
anything
brought
you
up,
eat.
that's what's more
protein
important
and
with
a
that.
slice of cheese.
Okay.
But it'll if it doesn't have a
Thank you,
package
Teresa.
that says it on the back,
Okay.
a chicken breast or something, you can Google that. Yeah.
If you do the honest work, guys, to shoot for that goal every day, your nutrition is going to be unreal. Okay? Here's part of this challenge. That's the only rule with nutrition, or almost the only rule. If you want to eat Doritos after that, eat Doritos after that. That's what. Now, what we would say is if you could then do other whole foods if you wanted, like an apple, the only other rule would be as long as it's a whole food, you're fine. All whole foods are fair game. Oranges, apples, fruit, berries, nuts, seeds, whatever you want. If you've got room for it after eating this protein, eat it if it's a whole food. That would be the best thing. But as part of this challenge, if you've got room for Doritos after getting your protein in, there's really no rule against it in this way of doing it.
Can I have a baked potato?
You can have a baked potato. What is a baked potato a whole food? Absolutely. Absolutely eat a baked potato.
This stuff you put on it that kills you.
If it's a whole food. Okay, so the second rule. Now, does everybody know you can't, I bring up a good point. Does everybody know they outlawed margarine? You didn't really see that on, you cannot buy margarine. It's illegal to sell margarine in the supermarket in the United States right now.
Really?
Yep.
Finally,
Yeah.
after all these years.
Finally.
Yeah. So that kind of got snuck into the radio. That should be on like CNN.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was because of us.
Yeah. We've been talking about it for a long time. Yeah.
Put your protein, like the yogurt, you put it in coffee, you can put it in water, it's shaken.
Get it any way possible. Yes.
If you use the yogurt in a heated way, is it still beneficial?
You mean the protein in a heated way?
Yeah. I'm just
There's some arguments about like a protein powder. Is that what you're talking about, using protein powder? Or like heating any protein?
like the yeah.
Like cooking a steak? Is that what you mean? Or
Well, so like yeah. So I used to, because I was on a nutrition thing, and instead of doing milk in my macaroni, I would mix some yogurt in it. Is that still beneficial because it got heated with the
my point of view is, for our purposes, yes.
Okay.
Is it perfect? You probably are going to denature that protein a little bit. If they were to then dissect it, look at the lab, it may denature the protein a little bit. But let's not worry about it. Second rule is we're going to take daily supplements. We've picked really 3 big supplements that you're going to use on this challenge. One is going to be protein for obvious reasons. 1 serving a day. You can use it in a smoothie. You can use it in yogurt. You can just mix it in water. The second we're going to recommend is a sex-specific multivitamin. So we have a men's multivitamin or a women's multivitamin. This is for metabolic health to make sure you are CYA. Does everybody know what CYA means? If you don't know what CYA means, come talk to me afterwards. There's no kids here? Okay, CYA is cover your ass. That you have everything you absolutely need for your metabolic functioning, all the micronutrients, vitamins, minerals. And then the final supplement we're recommending is a greens. And the reason we're recommending greens is from a previous talk, from the gut health talk. And from the gut health talk, what we found is there's this massive study they did in the UK. It was a twin study. It was the largest twin study ever done. And what they found, they took identical twins. It was over almost 8,000 of them. And they said, how come this identical twin is sicker than this identical twin? They have the exact same genetics. And the biggest correlating factor that made one twin sicker than the other twin was the nature of their gut health. One had bad bacteria in their gut, one had good bacteria. So then they looked in, okay, if this is the main thing, why does this twin have such good gut health? And what they found it's because individuals that eat 30 or more different plant species a week had the healthiest guts. That's the magic number. So everybody went 30 different plant species. You know what the easiest way to get 30 different plant species? A greens powder. A greens powder is going to have 60 different alfalfa and this and that, 60 different plant species. So it's the easiest way I have found to, over time, to get somebody's gut healthy so they can absorb everything they need through their gut system. So that's why we added in the greens. If your gut is a wreck, it can be very difficult to lose weight. It can be extremely difficult. Yes?
Are you classifying like bell peppers? Do you have different, you have red, green, are they different species?
You know, I think they would be considered, I don't know if they are considered different species.
Doesn't a green bell pepper turn red if you leave it long enough?
Yeah, possible.
Go ahead.
I think they're all very similar, but
I'm just curious about
I don't know the answer to that, honestly. I don't know if it would count, but in each different plant species, what they found is it brings a different level of fiber, a certainty. Yeah. Okay, so those are going to be the daily supplements we recommend for this specific challenge, and there's a reason behind all of them. You're going to take them every day. And then number 5 is going to be 100 ounces of water daily, and it doesn't matter how much you weigh. And when my wife is doing this challenge with me, you know what the one she had the problem with was? Water. It's the first thing she complained about. It can be salt water. It can be, yes. Sparkling water counts. Yep, absolutely, yes.
You said with our stuff that we got in the last thing, and that's.
Three of those. Yeah, so that's right around 3 liters of water. The literature shows, interdependent of how much you weigh 200 pounds or 100 pounds, something happens magically, your metabolism, to everybody, no matter what you weigh, when you drink right around 3 liters of water. Okay, this is going to speed up your metabolism. It's going to rinse your body. It's going to get bad stuff out. You know what else happens when you drink 100 ounces of water? You don't want to eat food. You don't want to eat Doritos. You don't got room for Doritos when you got so much water. Yes. Coffee does not count.
You need to drink more water if you're drinking coffee.
Yes, Jim. So here's what caffeinated drinks, I've read in multiple places, you should not count towards your water intake. Here's why caffeinated drinks, because you ever heard that caffeinated drinks are diuretics? It's not completely true. Caffeinated drinks make you spill out salt. They make you lose sodium. What follows sodium always in the body? Water always follows. So it's not a diuretic per se, but it does make you lose water because it's going to make you kick out sodium out of your body. So what I've read is you really shouldn't count anything with caffeine in it or caffeinated beverages towards your water intake. Do I think it does count towards water intake? I think it probably does, but I don't know what the ratio is. Should you count 50% or 30%? But it's not I don't know what that number is. Okay?
And one thing, especially if you're not somebody who drinks water very much right now, you will go to the bathroom a lot.
At first.
It's
crazy. It changes.
You've got to give your body time to get used to processing that much water. At first, it's just going to kind of flow right through you. That's normal. We hear that from everybody, but don't think it's going to stay that way, because that is kind of you might be getting up some at night to go to the bathroom. Give yourself time to adapt to it.
Can you drink distilled water?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Do you add minerals to your distilled water? Yeah. I would.
Just curious, for a long period of time.
Yeah. Distilled water is amazing. It is the best is spring. Distilled water is great. I would recommend that. You may lose some minerals. My tip for 100 ounces of water is wake up first thing in the morning and drink 1 liter before you do anything else. Get ahead of the clock. I would try to get 2 of them in before noon and all of them in before 5. What you don't want to be doing at 8 o'clock at night is drinking 1 more liter of water before bed. Yes, ma'am.
What about herbal tea without caffeine?
It counts towards your water intake, absolutely. Yep. Yes. You'll absorb more of it. Celtic salt is the best salt to add in. We used to recommend the pink Himalayan sea salt. I'm not highly recommending that anymore. They're finding it can be high in lead and heavy metals because the Chinese are mining it cheaply and it's coming in through the mining process.
What about the Redmond salt?
That's good. Celtic is the best. Yep. Yep.
Redmond's good. But it's all sea salt. Some's just ancient, some's new today from the ocean today. Some from an ancient ocean. That's underground now.
Oh, man. My savior.
Sorry, I was just having some of that.
Okay.
It's good.
Man, this has been such a bummer. What do you think? Is my computer falling asleep?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Well, your screen is going to sleep on it.
Okay. So I know the next slide is the protein. You're going to have 2 choices for protein, bone broth or whey protein. If you have any history of gut issues, highly recommend the bone broth protein. It's a higher quality protein. It is just a touch more expensive. It's harder to make. But if you have any type of gut issues, we recommend bone broth. If your main goal is weight loss, I would recommend whey protein. Whey protein is the best protein for weight loss. You can choose one or the other. We have chocolate and vanilla in both of these.
If you don't do great with dairy, bone broth would be a better option for you.
Lactose issues or any type of milk issues, you want to do bone broth. I switch between them. My family likes the bone broth better. Okay, quality. I can't see that, can you? That's a picture of a cow. It was a really cool picture. I just want to say with protein, do not go to Walmart and buy your protein, guys. Don't go to Sam's and buy your protein. Just don't do it. We used to let people, we were like, just go to GNC, your protein. They would come back like, I feel terrible. I'm having issues. I'm not losing weight. I'm gaining weight. Quality matters with protein. And it's not what you ate. It's what you ate. So the protein we get, it is all from grass-fed, grass-finished cows. It's super pure. That's very important. Callahan is the king. He raises his own cows. This is his area of expertise.
I could talk about this for the next couple of days, but the best way to think about this is there are return of benefits on what you buy at the store. Okay, so you buy a regular russet potato and you buy an organic, more expensive russet potato. There is honestly not that much different between the two. Is the organic one better? Yes, it's better for the environment. It was farmed better, less chemicals. It's better for you. But when you compare that to the difference between conventionally raised beef, chicken, eggs, fish, to raised properly, organic, free range, grass fed, it's not even the same product. It is a different thing altogether. You're eating the tissue of another animal. And just like, think of the vast differences in the health of people.
I'd eat you.
But you can see there's a difference, right? You know, there's a difference in that big. So animals that we eat, they're no different. What they eat, the medications they take, how healthy they are at the time that they are processed, big difference. So you take beef, for example. The change is so vast between the best version and the worst version. One of them is detrimental to your health. It is anti-health. It is pro-disease, pro-inflammatory. The other end of the spectrum, it's a superfood. It is anti-inflammatory. It is pro-health, anti-disease, anti-aging, pro-weight loss. So it is a complete turnaround from one to the other. So if you were going to invest in a change at the grocery store, there is no better thing to change than your protein sources. And there is a literal difference. The difference between a potato or a pepper or that's organic, you might be able to even see some differences, maybe taste a little bit of differences. When it comes to protein choices, it's a different product altogether, or it should be. Sometimes it's not. Once again, we live in this world of marketing, and they know we're having this conversation right now, and they're slapping labels on things and coming up with rules so they can do that, and free range and grass-fed. So if you can buy stuff local, if you know where it's coming from, if you know how it's raised, man, you're doing it's like taking the best protein supplement, the best multivitamin, the best detox, the best ibuprofen, anti-inflammatory. You're eating that versus the opposite. Yes?
Several years back, my daughter and I did some skin testing for allergies. I tested positive for beef, and it was part of what was making me sick. We have started buying just from the farmer's market, local grass-fed. I went back for testing a few years later. I'm not allergic to beef. So it's not the beef I was going to.
Yeah.
It's whatever I'm getting.
It's conventional beef. Yeah, you're definitely. And guys, so I have bought, for 10 plus years, grass-fed beef from the grocery store, which I think is a better product than conventionally raised beef at the grocery store. But I went through the process of raising my own beef exactly how I wanted to do it. And the difference between grass-fed beef at the grocery store and the grass-fed beef that I raised, it's still night and day different.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I make a hamburger patty with grass-fed beef that I've bought for 10 years, what are my hands like afterwards? Just covered in that. So you got to take your ring off and you got to wash your hands. This grass-fed beef, just as much fat in it. You make it, your hands are completely clean afterwards. Because the fat is different. The fat is not greasy. The fat is not anti-health. It's pro-health. It sticks together. It's less susceptible to heat. It's amazing the difference. Go ahead.
Can I meet from you?
Yes. Go ahead.
So what do you think about the meat when you get it from the farmer's market now has the organs mixed in?
Absolutely.
It's an ancestral blend. It's
Yeah.
ancestral. Yeah.
Yeah, so when it's a good animal, a good source, every part of that animal is healthy. Their heart, their liver, tongue, you name it, oxtail, everything. It's very nutritious.
When you interview people that are raising grass-fed beef, how they finish them, they think using grain is okay to
Right.
finish them.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do
Yeah.
that.
Well, I mean, this is a big conversation.
Hot topic here.
I mean,
Yeah.
technically, to the guy at the meat market or person at the grocery store, they say everything is grass-fed. Because every cow eats grass. But what's most important is that last, especially 160 days of their life, even if 90% of their life they are grass-fed, that last 10%, 5% completely changes the fat makeup, toxicity level of that meat.
About 10 years ago, I was listening to a guy speak, and he's not like you. And he said he actually witnessed at the finishing feedlot a dump truck back up and dump outdated Snickers bars, wrappers and all.
Oh my gosh.
The bigger they usually do gummy worms is typical. Yeah, gummy.
What's the main thing that they do when you take your cow to be butchered? What's the best thing that your cow could be? It's heavy.
Heavy.
You
Yeah.
get more money.
And that's all it is. The bigger that animal is, the fat. And that's, once again, this is everything with food, right? I mean, the more money that you can make from it, the better. And that's what's driven agriculture and industry. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's what's best for you. Yeah, one more question before we move on.
Do we have links that we can get actual chicken that it really has eaten bugs and natural things versus trying to take out grocery stores to work for it? And a side note, I can attest for the beef that we got from you it was awesome.
No, thank you.
It was awesome.
You know, in our area right now, this is something that's growing. Like there are farmers markets everywhere. They're beginning to be storefronts now where it is almost like a permanent farmers market. And if you start looking around, this is a wonderful thing that's growing right now in our community because people are realizing like there's something different. Now here's what's amazing. Over 70% of the beef that you buy at the grocery store comes from outside of this country. So, I mean, that's wild. Even the grass-fed stuff. Brazil, Japan, South America, you name it. It's not coming from here. Even when it says product of USA.
It'll say
Just because it's packaged here, value is added here, it can be labeled product of USA. So when it comes to meat sources, if you can't get that source, the lady down the road selling eggs, the lady that's got, the small farm at the market that's got some processed chickens, I'll end with this. I would rather buy from the person down the road that is feeding their animals corn than I would buy a grass-fed steak at the grocery store.
That hurt to say, didn't it?
It's hard. That's tough for me to say because I have lost a lot of trust in that grass-fed product at the grocery store. They've tested it, and it doesn't test like true grass-fed beef should. They're finishing it on something and getting by with it. Plus, the effects, the impacts on our economy and our environment that it took to get that beef to the grocery store is vastly different than supporting something local, even if it may not be up to the perfect standards of what it finished on. I would rather buy from that local person.
So to your point, the Grassroots, have you heard of Grassroots in town? That you're asking for a link or where that's the local place that's got it probably most together as far as doing this at scale. They have a storefront on Cherry Street on 15th. I have a freezer full of Dr. Callahan's meat. It's the best meat I've ever had. But I also saw the process he had to go through to get that, and I can see why people don't do it. I've bought grass-fed meat locally that my wife has told me never buy that product again because it was almost not edible, and they didn't do it like he did it. You got to select the right cattle. They've got to be the right age. There's a lot of that goes into it to do it right. It's really easy to do it wrong. You can't just put cows out, any breed of cow out on grass and then slaughter it and have it taste good. Because what is our palate used to? Something that's been grain fed. Our palate is used to a really good, good product. So, okay.
They're opening a Grassroots on 101st and Memorial.
Oh,
Cool.
wow.
Those are up, it's not quite open yet.
Very cool. Thank you for that. They've got enough supply right now. That's what's hard. This is taking off, so they sell out of their stuff really quickly, like their pre-order stuff. I don't even think they're doing pre-order anymore, actually. It's all going to their storefronts, and that must be because they're opening that second storefront. I think they're getting ready to cut it off, is what my wife told me. She said, thank God Calian's selling because we used to pre-order. She goes, I think she read somewhere they're going to cut it off because they need it for, so many people are going to their storefront to buy now. Yeah.
I stepped out, so I don't hear the whole conversation. but
Facebook.
Arlington
You can get on
Store, a good source.
High Oak
Another,
Pastures.
Really great friend. They have the native grasslands. It's all.
We have some ground left. High Oak
Provisions?
Pastures.
Rep Provisions?
Yeah.
Okay.
They do regenerative agriculture.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, guys, we are now way behind on schedule just from that Dr. Callahan's conversation there. So we've got to go. All right, system number 3, musculoskeletal system. We've talked about this already with the grip strength. Loss of muscular strength is one of the greatest predictors of loss of longevity. So what are our habits? We are going to do 3 days a week of resistance training. Now, we are going to have stuff set up. This is an open space here. Oh, that slide is gone. There it is. It happened during one of our blackouts. Thank you. Thank you for bringing this up.
Wow. Good catch.
The grass-fed cattle story stole this slide from us here. Okay, so eating window is number 6. The minimum is we're going to fast. We don't want to eat until an hour after waking minimum. Ideally, you should wait 2 hours before you eat upon waking and breaking your fast. And then 1 to 2 hours before bed. So does everybody see the bookends on your day? Don't eat first thing before you wake up. Don't eat right before you go to bed. That's what we're going to do. The minimum, though, is 1 hour. Ideally, you should try to shoot for 2 hours if possible.
What if it's more than that?
That's fine.
I don't know, my first life too.
You can continue intermittent fast. The only challenge is, can you get that amount of protein you actually need to get in that short feeding window? If you can, absolutely. Nope. Yep, go ahead. All right, so let's get into resistance training. Again, I know I've been picking on the females. This is important for guys. Women, this is what you're missing. This is going to lead to bone mineral density issues. It's going to lead to longevity issues. You need to lift heavy stuff. Water aerobics is not enough. It's great. It's great for your cardiovascular system. You need to be moving some weight around, okay? 3 days a week. You guys, anybody here, as long as you sign the waiver, even if you're not a patient here, as long as you sign the waiver, you can come in here and use our weight system to get in these 3 days. I'm opening up to the public as long as it's during our office hours. Is everybody with us? If my team says you got to go, we got to leave, you got to leave. Okay, you didn't show up at the right week. So we've got multiple ways that we're going to get the resistance training in. Number 1 is, everybody see this cable machine over here? It's got 2 stations on it, and we've rigged 2 places you can attach your phone to, and we've got a whole 21-minute video. You just follow, move that around, and you can get your resistance training in 21 minutes. Okay, do that 3 days a week. You've checked the box for resistance training. The other way that I'd like for you guys to do is what we're going to have set up here. This is probably the best thing you can do for strength and getting stronger, period, is this right here. Does everybody see what I'm doing? I'm carrying a weight around. And I'll just do this until I can't do it anymore.
He's pretending he's a farmer.
Yeah. So this is not a farmer's carry. This is a suitcase carry. It's very hard on my core right now to stay upright and do this. I can feel my heart rate going up right now. It's really taxing.
How big is that?
So this is just a 50 pounder.
Just a
This is a 70 pounder. I'm gonna walk with both of them. This is a farmer's carry, but it's more balanced. It's not hard on my core. I'm gonna walk with this. I'm just gonna walk. I'm gonna turn. I'm already kind of getting out of breath doing this. That's it. Walk with weight. Carry, walk with weight. This is gonna build a tremendous amount of strength, and we're gonna have different weights set up here, all the way to little dumbbells. We've got 30 pounds, 50 pounds, 70 pounds. If you're a guy, girl, doesn't matter. We're going to have a whole system you can look at. It's walk with weight in your hand for a minute. Take a 30-second break. Then do it for another minute. Take a 30-second. You guys see I'm out of breath, like a little bit? This is an incredible workout. Okay?
So what's the time? You got 3 days a week, but how many minutes?
We're gonna build that out. It's all going to be it's built out on the Facebook page.
Okay.
So there's going to be resources, the things you can follow. We didn't want to put a time here. Some people say a minimum of 45 minutes. We just move weight. So we'll have programs built out. I don't really care if you do 20 minutes of weights, but we just want people using resistance. Not enough people are using resistance.
And what's important about this is as you age, for your skeletal system, what's the main concern? Bone density. A lot of, especially new patients we talk to, they've had their DEXA scan. It's not good. They don't know what to do about it. They've been offered a medication. This right here, it's simple, right? Resistance. Your body responds to resistance. Your skeletal system responds to resistance. That's why when you're carrying weight, that weight is going into your arms, it's going into your shoulders, it's going into your spine, it's going into your hips, it's going into your legs, through your feet, all the way down through the fork, just by carrying weight. And your bones react to resistance, something called Wolff's Law. Wolff's Law means wherever there is resistance into your skeletal system, it grows. It becomes stronger. You don't do that act of getting that resistance through your skeletal system, it weakens over time. So you got to think to yourself, when's the last time I carried something heavy, truly heavy, that it was all I could do to walk with it? Right? So you're not getting that resistance through your whole skeletal system. It's an easy way to do it.
And why I love carrying weighted loads, it is a completely rehabilitative exercise. If you got foot problems, it's good for your feet. You got ankle problems, you got shoulder problems, you got hip problems. It's good for all of that. It's coordinating movement. You have what's called, it's not that you lose muscle as you age, that's part of it. You lose what's called motor units. It's links between your brain and your muscles. That's what you lose as you age. Doing something heavy and resistance training is really the only thing that keeps those motor units up. So it's excellent for rehab. Yes? Rebounder is cardiovascular. That would not count for resistance. Yeah, good question. Yes?
Does Pilates and reformer count as resistance?
That does not. Does not. Yeah. Yes? Sorry.
For Broken Arrow residents, the senior center does have one of these machines in the
Cable machine?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Yeah. Yes, last question.
So I just recently joined the Y because it was free.
Mm-hmm.
They have, it's called eGym, and I knew that was the missing link for me.
Mm-hmm.
And they pre-program everything for you, and it's a circuit, and you do it.
Cool. Like resistance machine circuit?
Yes, all
Cool.
that. And so there's only 3 in the entire state of Oklahoma. One is in Owasso. The second one is at the Tandy Y Gym, if anyone has
Cool.
a Y membership.
So take action, guys. Join a gym or come here, or have weights at home. This is integral part. We must do this for longevity. Last question.
Is there any difference in free weights and light machine? Which one is better?
Free weights is best. In general, here's the one though. Here's what's best. The one that doesn't hurt you is the one that's best. So if that's the one you're not going to get hurt using, that's what I've learned through taking care of patients and working with gyms is just do whatever you don't get hurt at. Because if you get hurt, now I can't work out for 8 weeks. And then what position are you in? Okay. And then we're going to do a wobble exercise. If you do not have a wobble disc, most patients here should have one. We have them here you can purchase. You can purchase them on Amazon if you don't want to buy them here. But it's a disc that you sit on that you do spinal exercises on, side to side, front to back, and then rotation to strengthen and keep your central nervous system and your spinal column in the proper position, which is super important for aging and your posture. Okay? We're going to do that just once a day at home. If you don't have one, you need to get one. Or you can do it like in your chair without one. It's not near as good without the disc. You really need the disc. If you need help blowing that up, we can blow it up for you. That is an essential piece of equipment, and we have them here if you want to get one. Okay? We're going to do that daily. These are like just the carries, and then this is the actual video that's take you through a 21-minute workout on that cable machine. All right? System 4, psychological well-being. Harvard did the largest study of its kind. They tracked Harvard students, and now it's all the way through from when they were in Harvard. The study's been going on so long, they're now all dead. They studied them through the complete life cycle. Really cool study. You know what came out of that study? Don't be an alcoholic. That's not good for your life. They really saw that. It was bad for marriages, finances, longevity. But the number one thing that the study showed was the number one determining factor for longevity, and this has been reproduced in other studies, it's your relationships and your emotional well-being. Number one correlation for longevity is the relationships you have and your mental health. It's so cool. That's something we can work on. So what we've designed is the 2 habits, and these are really cool habits, guys. Habit number 9 is just do something joyful for 5 minutes every day. That's either something you did as a kid that you quit for whatever reason, or you know you should be doing, or you want to do. It could be color, it could be sing, it could be anything. What brings you actual joy? And I find a lot of times as adults, we kind of quit those things. We do. 5 minutes of it.
Does anybody struggle thinking of something to do fairly quick? Yeah. Go swinging over here at the park. But if you're like, I have no idea what I would do for 5 minutes, you need to set some time aside today, and you got to figure that out, because that means you're pretty far removed from something like this: drawing, painting, going for a jog, even something physical, walking outside, birding, whatever it is. You need that something that is like, that's going to be fun no matter what. So this is a biggie though.
And then 1 time a week, this is not daily, you'll see on your challenge, you're going to get a challenge card. Like the resistance training is 3 times a week. This is one of the weekly ones as well. It's not daily. Do something for somebody else. Act for somebody else. If you want to make it even better, I would say somebody not your family, in your immediate family.
Random act of kindness.
What was that?
Random act of kindness.
Random act of kindness. I need some love right now in my life. You guys can do something for me. Send me some of that bad food you guys are all throwing out my way.
So to put this into perspective, why this is so important. Now remember, we're trying to change your happiness, right? That's part of this challenge. How truly full do you feel with your life with joy? Now, why is this important? So they studied the effects of stress and anxiety throughout somebody's life. And it is hands down a really good predictor of dementia and early death if you have a stress type of lifestyle, if you're somebody who has anxiety. It is going to affect your brain and affect you cognitively very negatively. But they found that there is something that people can do, even if they can't get rid of the stress. They can't get rid of the anxiety. There's something you can do to essentially wash away the negative effects of stress. And it's serving other people. Doing that, people can still live a long, healthy 80, 95 years old, even though they've just had every stressful situation in their life. They've had anxiety for 90 straight years, but they've been busy serving people. They don't see the negative effects. That's the only thing they've seen that counteracts stress and anxiety as far as the health consequences.
All right, guys. So this is how we do the challenge. This is the bundle: multivitamin, greens, protein. It's 20% off if you purchase it. That's your ticket into the challenge. So bone broth is originally $177 bundle. It's $141. Or the whey protein bundle is $171. Today it's $136. If you don't want to purchase a bundle, say, hey, I love my protein. I have a multivitamin I take. I have my greens. You can join the challenge. It's $50 for the testing. You're going to be put in a Facebook group. You're going to get all the resources that come with that Facebook group. And here's what you're going to get. You're going to get this testing sheet. We're going to do the testing here in a moment, okay? And we've got a scientific way to score this. You're going to get a score out of 50 points based on these 5 criteria. And that's going to be your longevity score. And it has categories. Are you a health crisis? Do you have a poor longevity score? Does it need improvement? Is it good? Or we have some people here, maybe excellent categories. I was happy to see we did this with a team. We had team members here in the clinic that were excellent when we did this testing. Where do you fall? Then we're going to have the 10 habits, which are all in it's a nice cardstock card with a tracker on tracking the habits here. You got a Y, an E, and an N. Yes, I did my wobble today. Or a no, I didn't do it all. Or an E, which is like it's emerging. Like I kind of did it, but I didn't do it. Like I didn't do it all the way. What we found is like a lot of these habits, some of you guys are laughing because we see you guys do your exercises before you get adjusted. And a lot of you get an E. It's emerging. It's not a yes. But some of these habits aren't yes or no. It's like I kind of did it. I didn't get all 100 grams of protein. I got 85. But that's more than I usually got. Like that's not a no. That's kind of like it's an E. It's an emerging thing. And you're going to track this and we're going to take a picture of this. And every week we want to share it on the Facebook group. Community is important. Doing this together is important. And at the end of this challenge, is 21 days, we're going to add up, oh my gosh, who did the best, who improved the most on their scores, who was the most community-based in the Facebook group. We're going to take all that into account. We're going to score it. And we're going to have a male-in, we're going to have a female winner. And what you're going to win is a home sauna system. A sauna sleeping bag, far infrared, best one we could find, low EMF, great tool. We also, if you guys are out here, we have the sauna protocols. Sauna is really good for heart health, cardiovascular health. If you read the studies, it can cut your cardiovascular risk in 50% if you do it 4 days a week. It's good for human growth hormone. It's good for your immune system. It's just really good. It's really good for you. So we have 2 individuals in this room walking away with a sauna. There's different protocols. They're out there. It's got them all out there. Yep.
So to be clear on this, if you want to do the testing today, it requires a purchase of either the bundle, or if you don't want any of the products because you've got your favorite at home that you love, it's $50 for the testing. You can do the challenge. You can be on the Facebook group. You can have a friend join the Facebook group and still participate in the challenge. They just won't be doing the testing. And to win, you have to do the testing now, and then there's going to be a follow-up testing 3 weeks from now to see your progress. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay.
Yep. So the date for the follow-up testing is 3 Saturdays from now. Is that how that works? Is that how math works?
Well, yeah.
It's 21 days
today.
From today. This starts tomorrow. This challenge starts tomorrow. We will come back at this clinic. Did we decide the time was? I think we're going to do the testing from.
What time is adjusting?
9 to 11.
So we would need to do it at 11.
No, we're talking about in 21 days.
3 weeks from today.
We'll post. I'm not sure what the date is. The 24th? I guess it's 24th?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what we'll be doing, retesting. We'll all get together, we'll retest, get the science, and then we're going to crown 2 winners after we do the testing. Okay? All right, guys.
I have a question.
You have to be present to win. You can still do the testing today, but to win the sauna, you would need to do the retesting.
It's either bundle or 50. Yep. What?
So I have everybody, if you plan on doing
The whey is a
the testing and buying the
milk-based
bundle,
protein.
please fill this
The
out.
pure
And you have to
bone
enter
is a
practice number, put
broth-based
heart on file,
protein.
and we'll get this
Still
going
has
quickly.
protein.
We
One's
also
just
would like
whey-free,
to put chocolate or
lactose-free.
vanilla, so please put
And
that on there if
the
you want
bone
chocolate
broth
or
higher
vanilla
in
and you'll have it ready
collagen. It's
for
just
you
2 different sources
After
of
your testing,
protein.
you'll grab
One's just
your
purely
product.
connective
But if
tissue,
you have
so like
this
from the
form
meat of an
before,
animal.
you can
The other one's from the
you
milk.
have
Yeah,
to fill it
yeah.
out.
They're both good.
Okay?
Okay. Lastly, guys, We're going to close with, I feel is the missing piece in healthcare. So nervous system, we are chiropractors. This is the most important system in your body. Hey guys, stay with me. Stay with me. We got 15 minutes. I feel the success we have had over a decade with having a practice here in Tulsa, it's based around our philosophy. And our chiropractic philosophy, and philosophy is different than medicine. I want to be very clear, guys. It is different ways of thinking. Medicine, if you get shot, you get stabbed, do not come see me. You need to go, you need medicine. And medicine is excellent at that. They are amazing at that. We are better at this type of stuff. This is what we are really good at, and our philosophy is better at this. Our philosophy is that nature, God, whoever made you, whatever your belief is, your body doesn't really need a lot of help. It needs the interference removed. All the things we've been talking about today have been about removing interference. Taking out the things, the man-made things that interfere with its own natural ability. That is our organizing principle. That is the filter that we think through. That is how we make decisions, and it makes life simpler, guys. When my kids have a fever, do I have to think about giving them a Tylenol? I don't. Never. My kids have never had a medication in their life. Ever. Because of that organizing principle. Now, if they had 105 fever for 4 days, are they going to get a Tylenol? Probably. Absolutely. But we've never had to cross that bridge. That we've been fortunate. You know, I'm not saying there's some luck involved in that. I don't want to, but to this date, they've never had a chemical or a pharmaceutical in their body. I think Dr. Callahan, your guys is maybe the same way. That didn't come from nowhere. You don't end up on the top of Mount Everest by accident, right? That came from conscious thinking and a filter to think through. This is the filter we think through with our families. This is the filter Dr. Callahan thinks through with his cattle. This is what we think through with patients. You don't need help. Where's the interference in your life? That's what we need to remove. So what are warning signs you have interference? If you're a guest, that's that sheet you got. It's any of those symptoms. Headaches, neck pain, back pain, sciatica, pain down your leg, pain in your butt, numbness and tingling in your hands. Those are the prototypical signs of interference. What can be insidious is sometimes interference doesn't feel like anything. If you study the body, you need to lose 40% function in an organ, tissue, or cell area before you get a symptom. So you can have lowered function and not have any symptoms. So symptoms are a good sign that you for sure have interference, but sometimes it doesn't feel like anything. What do we know about patients who regularly see a chiropractor? That should not have fallen. Why is that doing that? Okay. So, people that regularly see a chiropractor have a 60% decrease in hospital admissions, 59% decrease of days in the hospital, 62% less surgeries, 84% less pharmaceutical costs than somebody who regularly sees a chiropractor. Okay? Here's the stat I'm most impressed with. I am very impressed with this stat. And this is a well-done study that was controlled. Equally painful back patients. So somebody hurts himself at work, and they're both in the same amount of pain. If that patient, the first person they see is a surgeon, they have a 43% chance of having a surgery. If the first person that person sees is a chiropractor, they have a 1.5% chance of having a back surgery. That is massive. The initial healthcare provider, this was the conclusion of that study, the initial healthcare provider that you choose is very important. The doctor you talk to, the doctor you sit down with is super important. Now, these are kind of just stats. These are just numbers. It's different to put a face to this. So I want you guys to hear from a familiar face. Does everybody here know Andy? So Andy, come on up. So this is Andy. Hey, hi Andy. Come on up. Come right here. So I love Andy. She's got a great energy. She's one of the best hires we've had in the history of the clinic here. She can do the work of 3 people. She's Energizer Bunny. Okay, but we have a thing here. If you're going to work here, guess what you're going to do? You're going to. I'm not going to make you. By law, I can't make her do anything, but she's going to be a patient. We're gonna look at you. We want congruency. If you're going to be working with people, you got to be walking the walk. You got to be. Does that make sense, guys? Like, you want somebody who eats their own cooking. So, Andy kind of got plugged in that system. So, what was going on before you started working here, health-wise, that you did not tell us about?
So, for the last decade of my life, my husband and I have been struggling with infertility. Significantly, the last 6 years, I started to get some, I knew I needed to seek out a specialist to get answers to questions. And I want to note, I love this specialist. I trusted him. I liked him. I was not looking for a second opinion, just to throw that out there. I was good with the plan that was set forward. At the age of 27 years old, I was told I had I had a very diminished ovarian reserve. I was told I had the egg counts of a 40-year-old female. I went back at the age of 29, so 2 years later, and I had the egg counts of a 50-year-old female. So in 2 years, I'd lost 10 years worth of eggs. I was told in that appointment that I had about a 3-year window before I was going to be out of eggs and completely out of options. So when I started at the clinic, I obviously did not tell them any of this because I didn't think it was any of their business.
It's all my business. It's all my...
What is a chiropractor going to do about infertility? I had a specialist I was utilizing for an issue.
So then we sat down.
Absolutely. So we got to the point in the new patient process where Dr. Cameron was going over my x-rays with me. And he pointed out a multitude of spinal misalignments, but significantly in my lumbar spine, there were 2 vertebrae that were misaligned with some arthritis between them. And he asked me if I had been in a car accident about 15 years ago or significant trauma of some sort. He was guessing 15 years because of the amount of arthritis. And about 16 years ago, I had a very bad cheerleading fall. So his detective skills work, all to say.
I'm a creep.
Between these 2 misaligned vertebrae was where the neural pathways for my reproductive organs ran.
Oh my
gosh.
And so it was an absolute long shot, just a long shot that this was the cause of my diminished ovarian reserve. But I was at a point in my health journey, and I talked to so many patients that are in the same boat, at a point in my health journey where there was not a chance I didn't leave a stone unturned. And at the end of the day, I had to be able to say I did everything I absolutely could. So, through a ton of faith and a ton of prayer, I committed to 1,000% of what came out of those doctors' mouths. I changed what I ate. I changed when I ate, how I worked out. I managed my stress and my toxins in my life differently. I make jokes all the time. That was like a newfound Christian sharing gospel. Have you heard about my chiropractor? You don't get to stand next in line at Target and not hear about my chiropractor. I was in a cult. It was fun. I was in it. So, I hook, line, and sinker, but most importantly, they did give me a plan to correct this spinal misalignments throughout my spine. In a 4-month time frame, it was time to kind of reassess where I was, and my spine didn't look anywhere near the same. It had completely changed, and for the better. So 1.5 years ago, I became a patient at the clinic, and I made my health my absolute top priority. I just had a recent set of labs done, and my ovarian reserve has been restored, and I follow a normal route, section for a 31-year-old female. My accounts follow normal.
So, I take 0 credit for this. I want to be very clear. Andy dove in with both feet. I want to be very clear. With every aspect we covered. So how she said she left no stone unturned, she didn't kind of pick and choose. Do you know what I mean? I want to do this part, but I don't want to do this part. She did the whole enchilada. She did the whole thing. This is on her hard work. She just followed, this is how it felt like. I had something put together at home. My wife was like, "Oh my gosh, how'd you get that together?" I was like, I actually just followed the directions. How they said, some guys relate, usually I would not do that. I'll figure this out myself. She just followed the recipe book, followed the directions, and she got a really good result, and the body can heal. So everybody give Andy a hand. Yeah. Andy was very healthy when she was a patient here. She exercised a lot. She ate good. She was already really healthy. That's what I was saying. This was really the biggest missing piece in her health and her function. So, well, 1 second. This is what we dealt with Andy. This is the core belief of chiropractic. We believe the cause of disease comes from thoughts, traumas, and toxins. That's what causes interference in the central nervous system, the master control of the body. So we worked on some emotional stuff with Andy. Obviously, her physical traumas were released with chiropractic and corrective care. Those are the exercises, the wobble disc, the adjustments. And then she drastically reduced chemical toxins in her body. And you guys saw the end result. The body didn't need help. It just needed the interference removed. Is everybody, that was the process. Now, I'm not bad-mouthing her fertility doctor. Was this going to be the route that he was going to take her down? He didn't know. I don't want to point, like, his job is, I'm going to get you on a hormone to make your body pregnant, and thank God, what a miracle of medicine. That's a miracle. It's just different. This is a different approach. We want to leverage the body's own ability to heal itself. I feel this is the future of medicine. I think medical doctors are going to be doing this in 100 years. They're just a little behind. If the pharmaceutical company would get their nose out of things, this is where medicine's going to be going. This is our approach in the clinic. We're going to do the best job we can to do these things. The first step in this process, though, is we've got to see if there's damage to the spine. That's done through x-rays. We can't really help you. We don't have a starting point until we see your nervous system. The only way to see your nervous system is through x-rays. Those x-rays at first appointment, that is typically around $300. If you're a guest here, if you want to take advantage, come in and get this system checked, start that process that Andy went through. All that is $47. All the x-rays, all the testing, consultation, history. We need to sit down. We need to talk through what things have happened, like we did with Andy. Tell us about your cheerleading accident. Those things are very important. Those are part of your health story, your health narrative. They're going to give us clues, like we want to be investigators. What's going on? Why aren't you doing the way you want to do things? We got to be a detective. And then the second visit, that's where we will try our first treatment, and then we're going to retest. We're going to test you immediately to see how you did with that treatment. That's $75. And then your third visit is no cost. That's where we go over any recommendations. We'll show you your x-rays. We'll walk you through them. So the whole process, start to finish, this is two tough numbers to add. 122, is that correct? 122? 122 for 3 visits total to see if this is going to be a good fit. It's going to help you. You may benefit from this type of health care. All right? What about insurance is a big question we get. We are in network with any insurance that's worth being in network with, but we have plans for everybody. Our clinic is about 50-50, 50% of people with insurance, 50 people that don't have any insurance. And we make plans work for everybody. We want to make healthcare affordable. We want to make it a reality for your budget. Okay? Dr. Cowley, is there anything you want to add on this?
Nope.
Okay.